Good morning and welcome to TVP World News. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. EU leaders will discuss issues of European defense at an informal gathering today in Brussels. Now, apart from heads of states of EU member states, the Secretary-General of NATO, Mark Rutte, and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer have also been invited to separate meetings. Now, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk will attend an informal meeting of EU leaders in the Belgian capital. The discussion will focus on the development and financing of EU's defense capabilities. The agenda for today's meeting in Brussels also includes mobilization of private funding and how best to use EU instruments to strengthen security cooperation between member states. The goal of the discussions is to prepare the next steps towards making the EU a more resilient and reliable transatlantic security partner, which is why the British Prime Minister and the Secretary-General of NATO will also attend the meeting. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that while a deal with the UK can be reached, the EU will not escape American tariffs. Now, according to the U.S. president, the European Union has been taking advantage of the U.S., as shown by the over $300 billion trade deficit.
We're going to see what happens. It'll happen, but we'll see how things work out. It might happen with them, but it will definitely happen with the European Union, I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, you know, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars, they don't take our farm products, they take almost nothing. And we take everything from them, millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products. So the UK is way out of line, and we'll see the UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure that one, I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done.
Overnight, Ukraine attacked fuel and energy infrastructure in the Russian regions of Astrakhan and Volgograd. The governor of the former, Igor Babushkin, said that the strikes resulted in a fire breaking out at one plant. Now, although he didn't describe which facility was attacked, a social media channel connected to Russian intelligence reported an attack on a gas plant near Astrakhan. Responding to the attack, local airlines suspended all flights from the city. Similar restrictions have been imposed at the Volgograd airport, where oil and energy supplies were disrupted by drone strikes. Now, according to Andrei Kovalenko from the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, the drone strikes are aimed at halting production of fuel used to supply the Russian army. Croatia will expand its LNG terminal, ensuring the energy security of Ukraine and Central European countries. Now, the country will also provide war-torn Ukraine with mine clearance vehicles. This is according to Mate Granic, the Croatian government's special advisor for foreign policy. Now,
in an interview with state media, Granic announced that energy security was at the top of the agenda for a meeting between Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal in Zagreb on Wednesday. He also said that Croatia's plans to expand the LNG terminal will create new opportunities for natural gas supplies to Ukraine and other countries in Central Europe. In addition, he reaffirmed Croatia's unwavering support for Ukraine.
The Speaker of the Polish Parliament, Hołownia, set out on a two-day visit to Estonia. In Tartu, Hołownia will meet with his counterparts from Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine. The officials will discuss Russian provocations and transatlantic partnership. Topping the agenda will be security in the Baltic Sea. According to Hołownia, Poland must put more focus on the region amid hybrid warfare waged by the Russian Federation. Now, Poland's parliament speaker added that so far Poland looked south, focusing on cooperation within the Visegrad group. Now is the time for the country to once again be active in the Baltic region and establish the country as a leader of Northern Europe. The visit is also meant to reaffirm cooperation in facing new security challenges in the region. Police in Georgia arrested several opposition leaders during a protest on Sunday. According to reports, Nika Melia, the leader of the country's largest opposition party, the Coalition for Change, as well as former Tbilisi Mayor Georgi Ugulava, were both taken into custody. During anti-government protests on Sunday, demonstrators blocked a motorway on the northern edge of Tbilisi. According to reports, there was a massive police presence with many officers wearing headgear covering their faces. Georgians have been rallying since November, when the ruling Georgian Dream Party said it was suspending EU accession talks until 2028. The demonstrators continue to call for new parliamentary elections. The events on Sunday signaled a renewed strength in the protests, which had dwindled in recent weeks. The German Christian Democratic Union is set to hold its party convention on Monday in Berlin. Now, with less than 3 weeks left until the federal election, thousands have been protesting against the collaboration between the CDU and the AfD.
The CDU convention is set to kick off at 10 local time in Berlin. The chairman of the party and the candidate for German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is set to give a speech later in the day. He has recently come under fire when he relied on votes from the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, to push an anti-migration motion through parliament. On Sunday, at least 160,000 people attended a rally in the German capital to protest the CDU leaning on the support of the AfD in parliament last week.
Staying on Germany, thousands of protesters gathered on city streets across the country on Sunday to express their opposition to the anti-migration law proposed by German Chancellor hopeful and CDU leader Friedrich Merz.
Many Germans are appalled to witness what they call a shift to the political right.
I think it's really important to express my opinion here today, because it scares me. It really scares me for this country that, like in other European countries, things are moving to the right.
Or as some protesters frame it, the return to politics of decades gone by.
For the first time since 1945, this is the first time that a fascist party or a party with very strong fascist tendencies, I don't want to belittle that at all, exercise power here, and that must not be allowed to happen in Germany.
I don't want Germany to be governed by Nazis, both as a small coalition partner and as a large coalition partner, and it's better to take to the streets in good time.
Many of those gathered today feel a sense of betrayal at the hands of the Christian Democratic Union Party, whose recent proposals to restrict the influx of migration and asylum seekers appeared to borrow straight from the far-right AfD party's playbook.
I once put it kindly to Mr. Merz, reminding him once again of the hopefully good upbringing he has enjoyed. Hence the saying, "You don't play with Nazis." He gave it a try, and I hope he gets his due for his, yes, misconduct, so to speak.
With just 3 weeks remaining until Germans cast their ballot, opinion polls give the CDU-CSU bloc 30% of the vote, while the AfD trails closely behind. In the meantime, many Germans are determined to show their rejection of increasingly far-right stances in the political mainstream.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Panamanian President José Raúl Mulino on Sunday. Now, according to reports, U.S. concerns about shipping access to the Panama Canal were at the top of the agenda.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has embarked on his first official state visit since being confirmed into office. His destination? Central America, where he is expected to discuss U.S. trade priorities. Earlier today, Rubio met with the president of Panama. The two will talk about U.S. strategic concerns relating to Chinese companies potentially affecting American shipping access around the Panama Canal. Upon returning to office, Trump threatened to take control of the Panama Canal, built by the United States in the early 20th century, and hand it over to Panama under a 1977 treaty. He now claims that the waterway has changed without American approval.
Panama's been ripping down all the China language signs. They've been working like mad to try, but about 70% of the signs were up and they were written in Chinese, and that's not the deal. So we're going to take it back.
These claims, however, have been refuted by the Panamanian president.
There is no doubt that the canal is operated by our country, and it will continue to be so. I do not think that there has been a discrepancy in that. The president has his opinion about the Chinese presence, which will be clarified at the appropriate time.
Migration is also on the agenda, unsurprisingly perhaps, seeing that this has been one of Donald Trump's key priorities since taking office.
We have people coming into the country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals.
Talks on migration are set to continue during Rubio's grand tour, in which he will visit El Salvador, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has landed in the United States, becoming the first world leader to visit President Donald Trump since his inauguration. Now, their meeting is scheduled for Tuesday. Now, before boarding his flight to Washington, D.C., Netanyahu said the meeting would focus on the victory over Hamas. The visit comes at a critical moment for the ceasefire in Gaza, as negotiations for the second phase with Hamas begin on Monday. Trump's comments about relocating Gazans to Egypt and Jordan could add complications to this. Now, this will be Netanyahu's first trip since the issuing of his arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, which the United States is not a member of. In an interview for the American Fox News Network, J.D. Vance discussed Donald Trump's plans regarding Greenland. The Vice President of the United States emphasized the strategic importance of the Danish island and claimed that its 55,000 residents would be happier living under the American flag.
So here's the thing that I think a lot of folks don't appreciate about Greenland. It's really important to our national security. There are sea lanes there that the Chinese use, that the Russians use, that frankly, Denmark, which controls Greenland, it's not doing its job and it's not being a good ally. So you have to ask yourself, how are we going to solve that problem, solve our own national security? If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do, because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us. He cares about putting the interests of America's citizens first. There's another angle to this whole Greenland thing, Maria, that people don't realize. You've got probably 55,000 people living on Greenland who are not actually happy with Danish government. They've got great natural resources there. They've got an incredibly bountiful country that the Danes aren't letting them develop and explore. Of course, Donald Trump would take a different approach if he was the leader of Greenland.
And moving on to the world of music, Beyoncé won the Grammy Award for Best Country Album on Sunday for Cowboy Carter at the annual Grammy Awards in Los Angeles. Now, the superstar singer said she was in shock to receive the award for her first venture into the genre of country music.
I think sometimes genre is a cold word to keep us in our place as artists, and I just want to encourage people to do what they're passionate about and to stay persistent. Wow. I'd like to thank my beautiful family, all of the artists that were collaborators. Thank you. This wouldn't have been this album without you.
Poland's winter break is in full swing, with nearly 200 ski resorts bustling with activity. Now, slopes in Zakopane and beyond are filled with skiers and snowboarders, while others enjoy sleigh rides and scenic hikes. On Kasprowy Wierch alone, the snow level exceeds 30 centimeters. And that's all for this edition of TVP World News. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more news and features from across the region